Welcome back to Hutchinson, Kansas in the beautiful Hutchinson Sports Arena. This is day one, session 2 of the NJCAA Division I men's basketball tournament. With me as always, Brandon Goebel. Mr. Goebel, game number 4 just finished up. Good win for Trinity Valley over Georgia Highlands.
Yeah, this one ended up being a little bit closer towards the end than it kind of was there in the middle. The game was a little bit all over the place, but Trinity Valley did what we expected them to do. That lockdown defense, just so difficult to score on. Georgia Highlands could not make a three, and they really are going to have to rely on that if they were going to have a chance in that one. To
quote the late Dennis Green, they are who we thought they were. Trinity Valley very good defensively. Trinity Valley got out quick, 17-1 minutes into the game. I was really impressed with the heart that Georgia Highlands showed. They battled the entire way. They got back within 6 late. I think the kids at Georgia Highlands and Coach J.J. Merritt have to be proud of what they accomplished here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was a great learning experience for them. We know they're going to be back. Georgia Highlands has been a good program. It seems like they're starting to make steps back to being a good program again. So for the guys that'll be returning next year, there's nothing that you can substitute for the kind of experience that you get from something like this.
Right. For Georgia Highlands, they were led by Jaquan Nelson, who had 19 points, J. Kim Payne, who had 11. Both of those guys are guards who are freshmen. So to your point, it's very possible that we could see Georgia Highlands back next year. Let's recap, shall we, what we've witnessed so far today. So the first upset of the day, of the tournament, if you want to call it that, Walters State 85-82 over Daytona. We both picked Daytona. We were wrong on that one. Walters State really looked impressive. They looked the part. Game number 2, 87-64. Cali over Allegheny. One of our Triple Dipper National Players of the Year, Jeff Mwankwa, was terrific for Cali. Panola, 84-73 over Jones. And then just recently, Trinity Valley, 61-54 over Georgia Highlands. What are your takeaways over what you've seen during the first 4 games today, Brandon?
I think a lot of what we talked about during our JUCO Jam season this year was being able to shoot the 3 and defend the 3. And, the teams that are struggling to make those 3-point shots are finding it difficult to really be able to get inside because there's not really a reason to go out and respect it. So teams that come in here and can get going a little bit early, even if they're not going to shoot all that great for the entirety of the game, if they can get it done early and they can force that team to have to come out and respect your shot the entirety of the game, really just opens everything up.
I think if you were to survey a lot of the Division I coaches that were here, they would say that the best defensive teams are 4-0 at this point of the game.
100%.
We haven't done a great job of highlighting Trinity Valley, and they've just come off a win. So let's talk some of the Trinity Valley stats real quick. First of all, what can we say about Ahmad Bynum? I thought he was terrific. 22 points on 8 of 16 from the field, 5 out of 13 threes. He got them off to the hot start. He carried them down the stretch when they needed him. What are your thoughts on Mr. Bynum?
Plays with a different swagger to him. You watch him out there, and he's just a different kind of player. He's the kind of guy that a lot of what he does is going to translate to the next level, even though he doesn't have the big hulking size or anything like that. He has that intensity, he has the athleticism, he has the jumper to go with it, but that swagger that he brings definitely says, I'm ready to be a Division I player.
Speaking of big hulking size, I want to bring to our attention Ibra Bayou. In a little less than 11 minutes, he was 4 for 6 from the field, 8 points, 5 rebounds, 2 block shots. This is a guy, when he gets off the bus, looks like he's ready to win a slam dunk competition. I think the future is super bright for this young man.
100%. He was one of the most impressive true freshmen that I saw today so far that, was kind of a little bit of an unknown commodity. Absolutely circling that name. Going to be looking into him a lot more and really excited about to see what he can do this summer. In the various things that he'll do to kind of draw more attention to his name. And then going into next season, he's absolutely one that I think is going to really kind of start to pop early.
Yeah, absolutely. And our tour of Texas continues this evening. The game that we're getting ready to watch, the guys are warming up right behind us. We have Odessa versus Trinidad State. These two teams matched up earlier in the season, and that game, Odessa won 81-71. That was back on December 2nd. So we're going to see how they match up some 3.5 months later. What are your thoughts going into this game here?
Yeah, Trinity got that first game against Odessa, but very different styles of play. Odessa is going to try and grind this thing down, but you'll notice in that loss to Trinidad State, 81-71.
Right.
To 81-71. Trinidad controlled the pace, and I think that's really the key to this whole thing is pace. But then we look back again at the shooting, and Odessa does not shoot the ball very well. They defend the three-point line well, but Trinidad State, a better overall shooting team. Odessa is going to have a hard time making those shots from outside if Trinidad State is able to run, if they're able to get some of those inside looks and kind of spread everything out a little bit. They are a tough team to catch if you let them get away. Now, obviously, Coach Bucket is going to have them trying to grind this thing to a halt, and that's difficult for Trinidad State because they just aren't as physical as Odessa.
Yeah, I think pace of play, right? If this game is played in the 70s or 80s, huge advantage for Trinidad State. If they could get this thing in the 50s or 60s, Odessa would skew way ahead of the probability of winning.
And oddly enough, we would normally look at Coach Bucket and say, experience, the touch, and all this sort of thing. But you know what? This is year 3 in a row for Coach Folda. He is not
no stranger.
He's no stranger to this.
He knows where to make reservations. He's probably been to the Polo Lounge.
I would assume so.
At this point, if he hasn't, he will. And the Reeves family, one of our favorite players last year, maybe our favorite player in the entire country, DeJoy Reeves, who was amazing out here, who had a great season at Northern Colorado. We get more Reeves. Talk to us a little bit about Amir and some of the cast of characters on this Trinidad State team.
Yeah, Amir is a freshman guard, very explosive, very quick, got a lot of his brother's game to him. Hasn't quite found the traction right away as a freshman that DeJoy did, but I expect a lot out of Amir. And, it's interesting seeing a player like Finn Lally come out here that he's not somebody that you look at right away and expect him to really be as successful as he is in the paint, but he blocks shots, he finishes inside, he can get up and down the floor. He can be a problem himself.
Yeah, 6'9", kind of that stretch 4 type of player. Lateef Patrick, who's one of the better freshmen in the country, averaging 17 points a game. And then, a guy like Khalees Fry from Cincinnati, who was here last year, who was very good against Tallahassee in the national tournament. He's averaging 11 and 6. And Trinidad, we talked about they played Odessa earlier. They played Salt Lake as well. They went on the road and won the region tournament at Western Nebraska. I think Coach Folda will have these guys ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of those losses on Trinidad's record, people might point to Air Force Prep. Those are a bunch of recruited Division I athletes preparing to go play at the Air Force Academy. Those losses might look unusual to people that don't really understand that, but battle-tested they are.
Right. And, New Mexico as well, right? A Region 5 team who's been very good. They were ranked all season long. And, Odessa, some people think, maybe not playing their best basketball right now, 7 and 6 down the stretch, but 3 of those losses were to South Plains. They were close games. South Plains was ranked number 1 or number 2 all season long. I think you throw the records out at this point. I think the totality of the product of Odessa is much better than what the record shows.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially when we're talking, again, about a very experienced coach like Coach Bucket, and he's able to prepare those guys for this environment. And just that style of play, we talked about, it's a little unusual. It's not that unusual in Region 5 because there's a lot of teams that play hard-nosed, defensive, slow-you-down basketball. But outside the country, we always kind of joke about how fast it is and people get up and down. And all of a sudden, when you have a team that says, no, we're going to try and beat you 50-45, different deal.
Who is a player for Odessa, Brandon, that you think, a player or two, that might really help improve their stock for all of these amazing Division I coaches, Division II coaches who are out here looking to restack their roster for next year?
Willie Lightfoot's been playing really well all year, and I expect him to continue to do well and to continue to increase his recruitment. But a player that has kind of been up and down so far this season and had difficulty finding his footing late has been Brandon Macklin. If he can turn that around out here, he can change how things have gone for him recruiting-wise. But Odessa's going to really need him to turn things around for them to be able to win, and I think he's fully capable of doing that.
I think the big guys out at Hutch, I know it's a guards game, but there's a lot of coaches out here that says, Brandon, I need a center. I need a big guy. I'm looking at Jordan Ray, 6'11" from Texarkana. He's only averaging 5 and 5, but he's doing it in Region 5. Odessa plays a lot of players. I think this is a great opportunity for Jordan Ray.
There was a time 5 years ago where 5 and 5 in Region 5 would get you 20 Division I offers. Obviously, things have changed with the transfer portal, but that doesn't mean he's not a good player. It just means the recruiting landscape has changed. 5-5 for a big guy like that can come in here and be a physical, imposing presence and create havoc, especially in a half-court game. Definitely somebody to keep an eye on.
Stay with us for the rest of the tournament as we recap and preview all of the great games in Hutchinson, Kansas. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're subscribed to ESPN Plus to watch all the games live and the great coverage that ESPN Plus is doing. And we have another great game after this one. We're not done yet.
Not yet.
After this amazing game, the tour of Texas continues. Lee versus Wallace State. Come back, check in with us. We'll talk more about these Texas games coming up.